though, let's talk about the winner and runner-up. It was interesting at the end, of course. Suning ends up winning Group A. Didn't look like they would win Group A at all. G2 was certainly in the driver's seat for pretty much the entire day until we got to the tiebreaker, and then Suning pulls it off again. So let's talk about G2 and Suning in particular, Tyler, before we move on. What did you see from those two games that really led Suning to victory here? It may have been a little bit of a different story in both games, but at the end of the day, Suning was still the one that captured that first place position. And now G2, again, they are, once again, with great results that they've had in Worlds, they have never won a group. They've never won a group. Always second place.
Back-to-back years where they were favored to make it out on the last day, where we're steamrolling towards a first-place finish. Then they trip up the end, losing back-to-back games to the eventual first seed of the group. On Suning's side, I think for the first game, I don't think they trolled. I think there's a lot of social media right now, Twitch chat. Everyone's saying, "Oh, they trolled to get NA out of there. They screwed around. They mucked things up just to kind of screw over NA." But it was a wonky draft. I think a lot of drafts in this group, Group A, out of every group I've seen so far, have had so many like insta loss in drafts where these level ones and how these drafts have interacted have really just kind of bulldozed everything. Where we've had about 3, 4, 5 games where after level 1 the game was essentially over, which is not the most fun League of Legends if you're on the other side or just as a neutral supporter. But for Suning, I really loved Bean today. Bean in the top lane, our new the Shy, the baby the Shy. He is very arrogant from his monocrystal starts to not taking a knight and teleport, I believe, into the top lane. Just wacky summoners, very over-aggressive, just overconfident in his own skills. And he should be. And from what we saw today, why not be confident in your skills when you can do what you did today against Wonder, G2, and pretty much everyone except that Team Liquid game where Team Liquid just planned out Suning very well. So Bean was my standout for Suning. He was excellent. Sordar, as always, just in terms of engage, he's almost second to none. Especially on his Bard, he's one of the best Bard players of all time. Just a godsend for that champion. But it was a team effort. Suning's a very smart and also a very dumb team at the same time. You could tell that they played extremely well for G2, and they knew what to look out for and how to play against a team that really loves to overextend. But they are also a team where they're up 10k gold, and they were feeding the beast that was Perks on Senna. So this is a very young team. It's a very inexperienced team outside of a few players, especially Sword Art in the bottom lane. So for me, it was a lot of the good things about Suning that came out today, but a lot of these worries that makes me feel like they're not the sturdiest number 1 seed. I think they come out as a number 1 seed that a lot of these number 2 seeds, like a JD Gaming especially, if you're JD Gaming in the Damwon group, you are salivating, hoping that you can get Suning. Obviously, looking back at the LPL results, I think most people would say JD Gaming are the better team over Suning. So Suning is a team with it's a very high ceiling and a very low floor for them. And today it was that high ceiling.
It's interesting you say that because some people might even say the same about G2, right? Like a lot of first seeds are probably hoping. Now, if you ask Perks, I don't think he necessarily cares if you saw the clip online, which team he ends up getting in the quarterfinals. But a lot of first seeds might be looking at G2 and saying, wow, we could definitely take this and game plan against it. What do you think?
Yes, if it's Group G2. If this G2 goes from groups into the best of 5s and they do not if they do not step up a level or 2, then yes, I think this team could get 3-0'd by a Damwon or TES. Or even, I think even like a Gen G or even, I think even Fnatic currently looks better than G2. And it really does come to the jungler. It's such a jungler-centric meta, and Selfmade just looks awesome right now, and Yankos has been hit or miss. This G2 team is head-scratching. They had almost no clean wins during the group stages where, yes, they had a very impressive win today versus Team Liquid. But again, the 2 Suning losses, the Machi game was That could have gone really dicey if Machi was a bit more patient. Even going back to the first Suning game, which we called an instant classic, one of the best Worlds games of all times, that was a lot more of Mickey, and Perks and Caps, and all the players having these individual outplays and kind of just outworking their way out of a box instead of them, kind of just being a better team than Suning. Where that game just kind of came down to outplays and hero ball, and you saw that a lot today, where G2 tried to make these hero ball plays where Caps would try to go 1v2 and he would try to burst someone, or you would see a overextension of trying to grab a few more plates because they feel confident even if they get they see two teleports coming at them or they get collapsed, they always feel like they can take the 2v3, the 2v4 and turn it around. But that's not often the case, especially when you're playing against high-level competition who are also very extremely mechanically skilled, like Suning, where you have Bean and you have Angel and Sopham, obviously, who's one of the best junglers in the tournament. They really played recklessly, and they got bit. Sometimes most of the time in the LEC, that's not going to bite you when you're playing weaker teams. But when you're at Worlds against the best of the best, that's not going to work. Luckily for G2, I do think they have another level. They have a few more gears than what we've seen. If this G2 goes into the best of 5, they're going to get swept if they play a really good team. If they play DM1 or TS, I think it's a 3-0, 3-1. They do not have a chance. But if we see the real G2, if we see the G2 of last year, if we see the Yankos of old, the Yankos we know he can be, a cleaner, crisper, better drafting G2, I still think they're a team that against anyone, that includes DM1 and TES, they can beat them. I still have a lot of faith in G2 as a team overall. That mental fortitude you love to, harp on, Arda, this team has it. Mm-hmm. And I do think going into the quarterfinals, a week of rest, a week of prep, I think it's going to do them good, and I think we're going to see a lot better G2. It's the same thing that happened last year. They looked pretty whack at the end of the group stage last year when they lost to Griffin back-to-back games. They got into a series. They went to the quarterfinals against Damwon, a red hot Damwon, a Damwon that had smoked them in scrims over and over, and they won that series. And then they beat SKT and went to the finals. So,
yeah, I think that would be imprudent of people to count G2 out based on their previous performances, and also in instances in Group A, the way that they performed. I will mention that 75% of people picked G2 to win Group A. So those of us who did pick them in our ESPN League of Legends predictor, well, we're wrong. They did not win the group. But you can feel free to go to ESPN.com/League of Legends predictor and join us. If you have the ESPN Fantasy app, just click on the trophy and you can join along all the way until the end when a world champion is crowned. It's completely free. You can invite your friends. You can create a custom group. You can battle against each other. It is a lot of fun.